Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Spotlight. Our guest today is the amazing Candy Shaw. And before we get started and hear her story and have her share everything of why she loves this industry after doing it for as many years as she has and all that she does, I just want to kind of go back a little bit because I've had a lot of great response with the Spotlight. I've had a lot of great response with educators and artists wanting to jump on board and join the Beauty Agent Network. And so I just want to give a little synopsis of what this is and how it works. So I want you to think about the Beauty Agent Network as kind of like a Match.com for the industry. I am connecting educators to buyers, education to buyers, because we know that one of my missions and one of what I'm really committed to is making sure that education is the #1 selling product in our industry. And in order to do that, we all have to be on the same page to be able to bring and up-level that education to where it needs to be. And there's a lot of it out there. And of course, there's a lot of amazing education out there. But if we all come together and do a better job at providing education, making sure that education has a price tag to it that people can afford, but also that people are willing to invest in, I think we can change the industry and keep things on track. So if you're interested in being a member, if you're an educator, or you just want to promote your education, those are options with the Beauty Agent Network and obviously to be featured on the Spotlight. So we are going to restart. Stand by, Candy, because we got to restart it here.
Okay.
It takes a couple times. That's why I kind of take those first few minutes too.
Mm-hmm. No worries.
The public service announcement. We're trying it again. All right. We are preparing.
I hate technology.
There's a little hiccup with this at times for it to be able to pick up and stream consistently. But once you're on, it's really good and very powerful and far better than some other programs out there. Okay, hold on. I'm going to put this in here. Stand by, everybody. I know that we're almost live here. Okay, we should be good. And we are live on Facebook. Hi, everybody. I'm Bonnie Bonadeo. I'm the founder and president of the Beauty Agent Network and, of course, the Spotlight, as well as Beauty Inside and Out Radio, and then, of course, Bonnie Bonadeo Coaching and Speaking. And thank you for joining me. If you listen to this video afterwards, you'll hear an entire piece on why you should become a member of the Beauty Agent Network, and that I'm committed to making education the #1 selling product in our industry, which is why I am very excited about my guest tonight, because she's just as committed to having education be the #1 selling product in the industry. And here is somebody who's absolutely positively putting proof to that every day with what she's building with Sunlight's Balayage. So please welcome my guest, Candy Shaw.
Hello, Bonnie. Hello, everybody in Facebook world. This is so new for me doing it this way. It's really kind of an interesting thing, but looking at yourself, it's like, whoa, I'm in a big bubble here or something. Normally, I'm doing these Facebooks without having to watch myself.
Yes. So you get to keep checking in with yourself, but that's okay. That's okay. Candy, thank you for joining us, and thank you for being a part of the Beauty Agent Network. I know that you see the industry, and you're very committed to all aspects of the industry. And I know you're going to share this as part of your introduction and your story, all that you're doing and all that you're still doing as you're not only, building the company and the brand that you have, but also why it's important that you need to be building this brand right now.
Well, I mean, I can't tell you that the only thing for me that is the most important thing for any hairdresser out there is just education. It's my backbone. It's all I've ever really known. Interestingly enough, many of you might know this, and if you don't, I never went to beauty school. In Georgia, you don't have to. So education was something that I had to really get out there and get on my own from the very start, when my father was a hairdresser. And For me, my salon is built completely on education and how we do our apprenticeship program based on that, because we have a lot of people who go through our program to get licensed.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, just being on the forefront of balayage right now and just sort of being the Balai Lama, if you want to call it, but more importantly, the authority of just really teaching good grassroots, fundamental education that everybody can use. I'm really proud of that. And I just think that's our lifeline, and we cannot lose it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are, you're a multi-generation hairdresser here. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a salon.
Right.
Your father was a hairdresser. You have other relatives in the
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta area that are hairdressers.
Yes, it's
You're
true.
carrying on a legacy here.
Mm-hmm. My father's just retired about 3.5 years ago from being a hairdresser for 60 years. His brother, who is 10 years older, Don Shaw, is a hairdresser and still owns salons here in Atlanta as well. I have a cousin who's a hairdresser. I lost a very dear cousin of mine who was a hair colorist. But yeah, hairdressing is completely in our family. It's all I've really ever known. I started cutting hair in the 7th grade and in the locker room for trade for math homework. So it was, I was an entrepreneur from the very start, trying to make a living at it. And I love that part. I'm still behind the chair. A lot of people don't think they don't know that, but I still work behind the chair. I have a 50-chair salon here in Atlanta, and an academy. And obviously I also built Sunlight's the brand, but I'm really committed to the hairdresser. More importantly, just direct day to day with the hairdresser that works, under the Jameson Shaw umbrella.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And I know that, we had a similar story to some degree where, there was kind of like this struggle in just academic learning and not aspiring to be, I always wanted to be a lawyer. I always thought, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to stick it out, and I'm going to be a trial lawyer because I can argue a good story. I got into high school and I'm like, oh, no way, I want out. And I know that there were some similar struggles with you as well.
Well, yes. I mean, I feel like probably every interview, I always tell everybody that I was dyslexic and my daughter's dyslexic. My father was dyslexic. And, I lived with a learning disability, but I didn't let that be a crutch or, a failure for me. It was really more about how I could recreate myself in a different kind of way. I was always a visual learner. The easiest way for me to learn to do a haircut was to watch a haircut, and I would watch it and do it. And, the same goes for color formulation, anything that has to do with that. And quite frankly, I've run my business from watching and learning from some of the greatest people in the industry. I know, even in Atlanta, we have so many incredible hair salons here, and we all learn from each other, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it is a great community here. It's unlike anywhere else that I've ever experienced. The camaraderie and the opportunities that you guys do share as salon owners together. Yeah, it makes it really great. So, all right. So you've got the salon. You launched your academy so that you can teach the Sunlight. So you got your Sunlight's balayage company, which is growing and has a fabulous brand. I'm a lot of the coaching that I do with clients and individuals and companies, small companies, is to be able to help them define their brand. And you are the epitome of a really fabulous brand that's out there, and you've done a great job with that. And I think everybody that's watching us right now on Facebook would certainly agree that you've done it. But why? What was important for you to do it? Why did you start a company at this point in your career?
I ask myself that all the time, like, why? Why did you do this to yourself? You were doing just fine. But, the reality was I struggled as a balayage artist to paint hair, and I didn't have a product that really represented what I thought was the best balayage lightener. And I did go and try to get some of the leading manufacturers to sort of follow and help me make and create a lightener. And it just didn't happen, And so in the taxi cab on the way back to the airport from the really big meeting that I had with one of these particular people, I, looked at my son and I said, you know what, forget it. Let's do it ourselves. We can do it, because even if it fails, we'll be able to use it in our own salon. But let's create a lightener. So we spent a couple of years, you know, in R&D and came out. I'm from Georgia, so the natural resource in Georgia was Georgia clay. So it made a lot of sense to me to take clay, put it in a lightener so that it would adhere to the hair, and hence the birth of Sunlights. I really did not set out, Bonnie, to think that I was going to create this big, massive company. We're now in 12 countries and 48 states. I mean, it's nuts. But I really just wanted to create it for my staff and wanted to create it because we were a huge balayage salon. And that's really how it all happened, to be honest. As a matter of fact, your boyfriend bought my first Bali box. I hope you know that.
Yes.
Or your fiance. Oh, sorry, your
That's
fiance.
Right. Fiance, boyfriend. You know, when you get to this age, it's just like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one you pass in the hallway.
Yes, exactly, him. But nonetheless, you know, I didn't set out to really start that. But as far as branding goes, you know, a lot of people ask me, why yellow? You know, why llamas? Yay, here goes my little llama across the screen here. But really, it was just by happenstance. It was like we named it Sunlight, so it made a lot of sense for it to be yellow, like the sun. And then that just continued to snowball. And then, you know, one of my students one day said, "Oh, you're the Bali Llama." And I was like, "The who?" You know, and the next thing you know, that stuck. And so now, I mean, I have a warehouse full of llamas, and everything that is yellow, you even think about yellow, you know, people send it to me, and it's amazing. I mean, I am so humbled by this experience, and the fact that I can be a woman and sort of support, you know, the women of the world, and be out there, you know, not just in a man's world. And I don't want to sound like I'm just, you know, trying to, oh, women, girl power, but really in the hairdressing industry, 85% of it is made up of women. And yet it was always the men making the decisions. And so I'm really proud, you know, to be out there and representing women.
Yeah, and we appreciate that as well, because I think that's a misnomer that people think, you know, that there's a lot of women at the top in our industry, and that's not the case. It's not the case. So it's good to see, and of course, to be able to support, you know, women-owned businesses, and especially those that are, you know, making some headway like yours is right now. So I think that's great. I don't want to make this assumption that all of our listeners really kind of understand maybe the difference between, you know, balayage, but, you know, you were trained on this many, many years ago before it became a thing. I think at this point, consumers are aware of the vocabulary, maybe not the technique or why they should be getting balayage over highlights or some other type of color service. So just help us define that a little bit, and, you know, where the balayage technique came from, and what had you see, hey, this is really going to be a way of being able to have highlights look beautiful and natural and everything.
Well, I mean, of course I could spend all night on that, but I'm going to give you a very quick, you know, a quick way to sort of identify. When I was graduated high school, I moved to Europe for about 6 months, and I was really lucky to be able to break bread with a lot of really cool French hairdressers and a lot of wonderful things. And, you know, basically I learned balayage, but I was scared to death of it, scared to death. So I came back as a French cutter, continued to cut hair French for a long time, and then, you know, finally decided that I needed to really take this leap of faith and really perfect the art of painting hair. And so I did, and started working on it. And at first, you know, people kind of thought I was crazy because they were thinking, oh my gosh, you know, they had just stopped pulling hair through a cap, and now, you know, we're putting foils in hair, and now you're actually freehand painting. But for me, it was amazing because it just kind of gave me a license to be completely different. And then, you know, the consumer did not catch up with it right away. You know, so the hairdresser was doing balayage long before the consumer really knew what to ask for. You know, they would call it balayage, you know, all kinds of biolage. They didn't even know what to call it. But what they would do is they would bring in these pictures of celebrities and people out there whose hair looked younger and more unique and seamless. And, you know, it wasn't, you know, hash marks on a football field like a floral
Mhm.
might do for someone. And they were starting to notice the difference. And this is long before Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, any of that type of thing. It was really, they were pulling it out of magazines. I mean, people were bringing pictures literally torn out of magazines or pointing them out. Well, then when Pinterest came along and Instagram came along, it just blew up. I mean, it just went from, pardon me, a phase to literally a revolution. I mean, I've been a hairdresser almost 40 years. I'll celebrate 40 years coming up here soon. And I have never seen one thing go more viral in a shorter amount of time than, the last thing. It was probably the Twiggy haircut from Vidal Sassoon, or, his hair cutting with a small scissor. I've never seen anything that incredibly impactful. And it was a way for stylists to make more money quicker, faster. And it was fun. And it just kind of invigorated us as hairstylists again, because it gave us something different to do. And so
Yeah.
balayage has just really, I mean, a lot of people think, oh, well, it's just a trend, it's going to go away. And I say, no, it's not. Balayage is a little black dress. It's not going anywhere.
Well, I love what Lacey's sharing here. Thank you, Lacey, for this. She says there's no more flat painting. It actually creates a dimension to the hair, which I think is the uniqueness to it. And I know that you and your team have been out there teaching this like crazy. And is it an art? Is it easy?
No, actually,
Can we
there's a
get out
huge.
of the foils and transfer into this type of process?
Well, certainly. And, for all my foilers out there, I want to go on record here. I mean, it's not to say that foiling is wrong. A lot of times I'll get a little beef from some foilers out there that'll say, oh, well, I mean, I can't, whatever. Look, to each his own. You can speak French, you can speak Spanish, you can speak Portuguese. It's just a language. It's my color love language, and it's just what I do. It's what I'm good at. It's what I teach. It's what I represent. So for me, I don't, choose to foil hair. I choose to paint hair. But to the average stylist, there is a learning curve. However, once you get past that learning curve, oh my gosh, I mean, the sky's the limit as to what you can do and the quickness of what you can do. And, quite frankly, our clients are getting so good at things, they can't paint their own hair. Trust me, they've tried. But, and this is giving us an opportunity as stylists to make our guests more codependent on our paintbrush and our placement and what we understand about dimension and contrast in hair. And so for me, I think this gives stylists a greater way to interpret beautiful hair color that's seamless and gorgeous. And I really say that I can make a woman look younger with a paintbrush, and I really believe that.
I like that. That's very powerful. And so you developed this product to be able to go with it because you wanted to paint hair, but you didn't have the product that was performing in the way that you did. So you said, heck, I'm creating my own product then.
Why not?
Yeah.
And look, for anybody out there that has a great idea, my advice to you is to encourage you to go for it, because, I see a lot of people out there that are really strong in this industry, and it's getting easier now to stand on your own two legs. For the longest time back in the 90s, early 2000s, I mean, if you didn't work for a big manufacturing brand, you were a nobody. And what I've done differently with Sunlights, that's completely different protocol, I guess, is I'm trying to create budding entrepreneurs to go out there and be great educators. People who are out there teaching, yes, they're teaching under the umbrella of Sunlights Balayage, but they're really teaching, their birth, their breath and their culture of how they paint hair, because it can be different all across the board. You have a good foundation to learn how to paint hair, and then the sky's the limit as to how you can be artistic.
And I see that too as you're giving them an opportunity to have their own brand so they can have their own success. It's not success based on being under your umbrella alone.
Mhm.
It's
I
it's
think it's important.
transferred success because they can create their own brand with it. And
Mhm.
I've seen some amazing, some of your artists are really are not only talented, but they're making an extreme impact on their brand and their connection with other hairdressers to be able to teach them to be better.
Absolutely. I mean, we're all in this together, and I know that can sound kind of cliche, but it's really, really true. I grew up as a hairdresser hiding all of our trade secrets. No one would want to teach anybody anything because God forbid they could do the bob better than you could,
Yeah.
or they could do the color formulation better than you could. And, that's gone. Those lines are all blurred now. To me, the more I give, the better I am. The more I share, the more I teach, the more I show, I think the better the industry becomes.
Yeah.
And you're never gonna. Everybody's gonna have their own take on anything. People buy. Your guest buys you more than just what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me, I just think balayage is allowing people to be a little more creative and also to go out there, these young budding entrepreneurs, and teach classes. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, that's great. I love, Heather, she mentioned that working on the canvas, it totally makes sense. We had some other people here that said going to your class and learning how to do this has changed the way that they're doing color. You got a lot of good responses. Thank you, everybody, for responding. If you have any questions for Candy while we're live, certainly, pop them on here. And we can certainly ask her. I know Steve Vanderveer says, it amazes me that many people think a lightning process is new.
Mm-hmm.
And he says he took his first class in 1979. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Steve, keep going. Be
Mm-hmm.
strong out there. Yeah. All right, Candy, I want to, you've done such a great job. Thank you again for all your support with what we're about as well. But I always like to ask the question to my guests, what's your wish list for the industry? Where do you want to see it go? We
Oh
got so much
gosh,
diversity going on right now that it's hard to pinpoint that.
Oh gosh, Bonnie, I've seen things change at lightning speed. I mean, I'm at every trade show that there is. I'm all over this country, and I'm kind of scared. I got to tell you, in some ways, I'm really sort of scared not because, a lot of people would say, oh, are you scared of the salon owner, commission salon versus the booth renting? No, I'm not. There's a place for everything. There's a place for the salon, commission salon facet. It's something I believe in very wholeheartedly. There's a place for that entrepreneur that wants to be out on their own. I think the challenge has been casual Friday. I mean, if you want to know the God's honest truth, like what really bothers me about the beauty industry is how little sometimes there's beauty in it. And how people sometimes, I'm thinking, I go to the trade show and I think, my God, I wouldn't let you touch my hair with a 10-foot pole and you're a hairdresser. What is wrong with us when we're not representing beauty? I mean, it's like going to a dentist with bad teeth, I mean, I'm not going to
Would
go
never.
never in my life. And I think to myself, why are we, why are we in our pajamas? Why do we look like this? Why are we, it's okay to have freedom of speech. It's okay to look, the way you want to look maybe on Sunday with your family. But like when you're representing the hairdressing community, you need to get out of bed, put on your makeup, get your hair done, and look your best. I mean, because no one's going to take us seriously if you don't. And that's the challenge, because normally, like, I can remember meeting with my banker, and he's like, oh, you're a hairdresser? I'm like, yeah, dude, I am. And by the way, check out my bank account. Like you almost want to fight for people to take you seriously. And I don't like that. Like, I think that's our fault. I think it's our fault that people have, maybe not taken our industry to the highest of standard. When I was in France, the hairdresser there, they dressed in white every day. They looked like the most prestigious people. They were like amazing. I just remember being so blown away by that culture. And I just feel that we've gotten too casual, and we've just kind of kicked back and put our feet up and come to work whenever we have a client, instead of really working hard for a client and, marketing ourselves and getting out there. I think stylists are still waiting on the busy bus to show up. Well, the busy bus is not coming. It's getting harder and harder to get a guest and keep a guest now.
Keep them. Yeah. Get them and keep them.
And so there's a lot of great hairdressers out there, and there's a lot of great salons. I mean, when our salon opened, my father over 40 years ago or more in this location, but before that, he didn't even enlist the number in the phone book because it was such a secret. He wanted it to be like an underground hair salon. Well, now it's not like that. I mean, there's a hair salon on every corner. So what's going to differentiate you from anyone else? And that's service, technique, and beauty, and how you withhold our industry. And so I know that's a long-winded answer to your question, but I would say to anyone out there, we got to get more beauty back into the beauty industry.
Well, you have a lot of people that are agreeing with you, and it certainly makes sense. And I think it was Lacey here that said, you dress for the clientele you want to attract.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's true. It's just like anything. I always say that your brand is, who you are on the inside, and you have to reflect that on the outside. If you don't care on the inside, or you don't feel confident on the inside, you're not going to reflect that on the outside. But we also know that beauty can provide a level of confidence for us. If we start to put on that persona, it starts to manifest internally as well.
Oh, I totally agree with that. My mother used to always tell me when I'm not feeling good, she said, my nickname was Pooh, and she'd say, Pooh, you need to dress through your emotion. And what that meant was, when I wake up in the morning, if my emotion is not there and I'm not feeling good about whatever is going on in my life, I dress up. I dress through my emotion. And that way, when I look in the mirror, I see a different Candy. And when I go to work and someone says, wow, I really love your scarf you're wearing today, or whatever, that's helping, my confidence all day when, maybe I could have likely been down. I mean, some people wake up in a bad mood and, carry it on to work and dress like they're in a bad mood and go home in a bad mood. And, and I just feel like it's very hard to service, your clientele when you're not giving them the best possible you.
Yeah. Jamison said he's wearing a tuxedo to work tomorrow.
Good. Good for you, JJ.
Dressing to impressin'. Yeah. And I love what Bridget said. She said that, our image is our business card. And that's true. And the fact that, if we claim to be hairdressers, then, our crowning glory here, this is it. If we don't look good, why would they think we can make them look good?
Absolutely. So true. So true. I honestly believe I built a brand on bangs and a bob. And I really mean that. And I mean that with all due respect and love. I mean, I don't try to be silly about it. I think that people related to me because my hair always looked good, and it was not something freaky and crazy, and they could always know who I was. Oh, there's that girl with the glasses and the bob, even though they might not have known my name at the time, they would see that and they would identify with it. And you need to find your brand out there. What is your brand? Are you really great at beach wave hair, or if you're really awesome and you like, funky colors, or, whatever it is. I mean, there's plenty of people out there, that, built an entire following on a hat, right?
A hat and a bow tie.
That's right.
Out there too.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think you have to think about that for a minute, how that quantifies and behind your chair.
And that is a part of marketing, and it's a part of that connectiveness that we have in emotionally connecting with others. So, and we have a choice in that. We have a choice in that being a positive experience for ourselves and others, and or negative. And I think that, if one of the reasons why people love beauty and the beauty industry so much is because we really are very compassionate, empathic people in this industry. And I think that we want to do our best. I think that sometimes we just lack the confidence to be able to pull ourselves together with it. That's one of the things that I see with the kind of the future of our industry is we have a lot more independent people. And so as we evolve over the next 10, 20 years, these kids coming out of school, they're going to need resources to be able to learn the skill sets, because they're not walking into salons like you and I and Jeff did, and even your father back in the day, that helped mentor them to that level of expertise.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I agree. And, but I think a lot of it, to your point, starts with confidence. And I think that, I say it all the time, sometimes, we give makeovers all day, and sometimes we need our own makeover, and we need to look at that. We need to look at the ways that we can stay on point and stay on trend. And look, anybody can put on black and look good, but like even in my salon, we have a different color every day of the week that we wear. I don't know if you know that or not. This is kind of an interesting fun fact for your listeners. But so every season, we have 4 seasons, we change our dress code to be black and a pop of color. And so one day, like a Tuesday might be black and blue, a Wednesday might be black and orange, or black and red or pink. And what makes that really great is you can walk into our salon. We have 50 chairs, so there's a lot of people running around, and you can identify exactly who works there right off the bat. But the reason I did it, Bonnie, is kind of interesting. I had a client tell me one time, she said, "You know what, Candy?" She said, "Every time I come in here, it depressed me." And I was like, "Depresses you?" Like my radar went up. And she said, "Yeah, it reminds me of my husband's funeral." And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, like nobody has ever said anything that profound to me before. I was like, "I'm so sorry." And she said, "Don't you sell color for a living?" And I went, "Oh, yeah, we do." And from that moment forward, we put color into our salon, in the way that we dress. And yeah, we have a dress code. And I know that a lot of stylists out there are like, "Oh, I don't want to work for a place that has a dress code. That's why I went on my own, so I could wear jeans and I didn't care, But I got news for you. I mean, walk into the hospital and see if they've got a dress code. Walk into, any really fabulous restaurant and see if they've got a dress code. And walk into the highest, greatest hotel that you ever wanted to stay and see if they've got a dress code. And I think that, it's important that you have that, because you're not dressing like, Lacey said, you're not dressing for you. You're dressing for the person you're attracting and the person you want your clientele to be. So if you're living from paycheck to paycheck right now, you might want to look in the mirror and figure out what you're wearing, because that's not attracting the people. If you've got big holes in your book, if you're not book solid, you might want to consider, what you're putting out there that's causing people not to want to buy into your dinner party. Because ultimately that's all you're doing behind the chair every day is you're just throwing a dinner party. I mean, that's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You're on.
If you can get everybody to come to your dinner party and be a part of that, they'll take you places you cannot even imagine. That your guests will pay for every house you ever lived in. They'll take you on every vacation you ever wanted to go to. They'll educate your children. They'll do anything and everything you ever wanted, but you just gotta be it first, and believe it first. And then when you do, the bees appear, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I like Vince. He said, Vidal would send you home if your shoes were dirty.
Yeah. Good for him.
And I think we've lost some of that part of the art of, of who we are and our professionalism. And I certainly think it's something that we can bring back, whether Whether you work in a salon and have a dress code, or whether you're an independent person,
Sure.
you have to bring beauty back into who you're representing, and how you're transferring that personal brand of yourself to your clients.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Fantastic. So what do you have? What's going on for 2019? I mean, we're already in December. We are rolling into the official holiday season. I'm excited. I'm excited for the downtime at this point, but I'm also excited for 2019. But what do you got going on for 2019?
Well, you know, what's really funny is when you get at this place, you're already looking at 2020, you
Yeah.
know, because 2019 is pretty much planned, if you want to know the God's honest truth. But of course, all the trade shows will be out there in the classroom. We're going to do some main stages this year. I'm going to work a lot on, I think 2019 for me is going to be the year of the haircut. And I don't think a lot of people know that I love to cut hair as much as I love to paint hair. And I'm a French hair cutter, so I've got a lot of French cutting academies on the docket for 2019. And I'm going to come to a lot of the trade shows with my French cutting technique, which is vastly different from the British type of cutting technique. So we've got a lot of that. We're going to do a lot more classes out there. I'm getting to do a big thing in Cape Town. I'm really excited about that. I'm going to go on an African safari with my husband to celebrate our 30-year wedding anniversary, but I'm also going to get to teach there. And we just have been launching like crazy, all over the world, as I alluded to earlier. So I'm certain there's going to be a few little global across the ponds, so to speak, for me. But I think really for me, I'm going to focus a lot on teaching more business and also teaching a lot more hair cutting too. So that's kind of what Candy has in store.
Ah, that's fabulous. So then you have this academy. So tell us a little bit about the academy and some things that you have planned for the academy this next year.
Well, I kind of do three types of things. The first thing I do is I spend a lot of time in trade shows, as you know, as I just alluded to. I spend a lot of time doing distributor events in certain towns. But my baby and my real happy place is here in Atlanta at SunQ at my academy that we just built. And that's where we do live models, meaning, the student actually works on live models. Of course, I can't do that on the road as I can, in my own home. So we have two-day courses, in some cases 3-day courses, where you can come in and do French cutting or balayage classes with myself or our artisan team. And then you work on live models as well. So it's really great. I've got a thing this year that sold out immediately when I posted it, where I'm doing a 3-day event where I'm taking you to dinner and we're like talking business, and then you get to shadow me in the salon, which is really cool to be able to kind of watch somebody work. It's one thing to stand on a stage and talk about all the great things you do, but it's another thing to put your money where your mouth is, So I really love my shadow days that we have. You can always shadow after one of my courses here in our academy, and I work behind the chair and they can come and watch that. And that, I think, is really an awesome and very different thing that people offer out there, to be able to actually watch, me work with assistants and sort of how I get through, the kind of day I do.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, I just posted a link here of the academy. It's on the Beauty Agent Network site. So we have Candy Shaw on there as an artist and educator, but we also have Sunlight's Balayage on the Beauty Agent Network under a manufacturer that is very supportive of education, as we started out our conversation tonight. So I'm posting the link to your education calendar going into 2019.
Thank you.
Sure, Jameson, feel free to do that as well. To post it on there, and let's get some education going for 2019. And I'm excited, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to use your academy.
Oh yes, I love it.
I'm looking forward to producing some classes in there this next year too, with some speaking and branding courses, which I believe, if we dress the part and then we can communicate better to our clients, and have more of that authentic brand and style, that's how we're going to be successful. And you, Candy, are certainly proof of that.
Well, thank you. I am thrilled to have a bunch of folks this year come and use our academy. I built it, obviously, for our academy, Sunlights and, French Cutting Academy. But we have DJ Muldoon coming, and we have various people who have reached out to me. You are going to come. I know that several different artists out there are going to come and use our academy, which I love because Atlanta's a great central location. It's an awesome town to come to, great food, great shopping, reasonable pricing, hotels and things of that nature. So we're really excited to offer that. And so be on the lookout on the Sunlights Balayage website and or Beauty Agent Network, and see how we're going to post all those classes so you can get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to be able to help promote some of those classes for you. Not that you need any help. You seem to be doing a good job in selling it out. But I like the idea that you're going down the path with, some cutting and diversifying yourself. That's a beautiful thing that you're diversifying yourself. And I think everybody was game for that as well. Eric says you are you can do the cuts. You can slay the cuts here. So,
well, French hair cutting is really different, Bonnie. Like, I cut hair in 5 to 8 minutes. It's very, very, very fast. And a lot of people don't believe. They're like, oh yeah, right. So you do it. It's not really technical, Candy. It's not really pretty. Look, I'll put my bob up against anybody's. I don't think longer makes it better. Well, in some places it makes it better, but but mostly, I just don't think that, I think we've got to work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
You've only got so many hours in the day. And
well,
so
you add coloring, you add styling, you add educating the client, and showcasing professional products that you're recommending to them. Sure. That's where all the value is in that time with the client. It's not, them patiently holding their head very still so you can do a cut in an hour.
Well, it's interesting. I said on many of the forums today, I wanted to tell everybody why I'm still behind the chair, because I get that question all the time. Like, why are you still working in the salon? Like, why would you do that? You've got so many things going on. I said, the day I quit working behind the chair, I'm gone. I'm dead, because I can't get on a stage and tell hairdressers what to do right if I'm not doing it myself. I'm not I don't want to become that kind of person who just points fingers at people. I want to live in the moment. I want to say, hey, look, I've got, my Sally is also a pain in my derriere, and I do have issues and challenges behind the chair just like anyone else does, right? And I want my student to be able to relate to that and be relatable. And also I do it for my staff. Like, I work so that I can lead by example, and I can be there and I can show them what a good hard day's work looks like, what it's like to market yourself, what it's like to brand yourself behind the chair, what it's like to, do the work. I can never give that up. And I mean, people think I'm nuts. They're like, why do you do this? Like, you don't need the money. Why are you doing it? I said, listen, I need it for my own fuel. It's the fuel that helps me become a better artist. It helps to perfect what I do. It lets me practice all day. And I just can't ever give that up. I just can't think I can be a beauty authority without working on my craft, and that allows me to do so.
As Jillian says, that makes you a great mentor and a great leader. And I agree with that. It definitely, it wasn't my forte to be able to stand behind a chair and do good work, even though I did do it for many years and I loved it. And I was an educator for, a few manufacturers. It wasn't where I felt I was serving myself and others as well. And I realized for me, it was more of a opportunity. I'm a collaborator. I'm a connector. I'm somebody who makes that connection with other people so that they can be showcased. I suck at promoting myself, but I'm really good at promoting other people.
No, you don't suck at that, Bonnie. You're great. Are you kidding? But listen, know your strength, right? surround yourself with people smarter than you and know your strength and do what you're best at.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm best at, and I know that. And, ask me to do this technology and I'm like, whoa, I got to have 14 people in here to set me up. Right. So, um, but that's okay. I'm okay being that person,
Yeah.
I'm okay being authentic. And I get asked the question, well, why don't you have a whole lot more followers or whatever? And I say, look, I'd much rather have believers than just followers.
Mm-hmm.
And, what I want to be that person who's touchable, tangible, reachable. People say, who runs your social media? I go, I do. What do you mean? I mean, I get up early and stay up late. That's what I do. I mean, I'm not perfect at it, but Jameson, my son, told me, Mom, you don't have to be the best at social media. You just have to participate. I said, you know what? You're right.
It's true.
It's hard to tell that to a 54-year-old woman. I mean, it's just hard to want to do it. But I know that, when you're talking about marketing yourself, I mean, look, I might not have the biggest following, but what I do have is a lot of people that believes in, what we're teaching and what we're giving and the culture that we're creating. And that to me is all the money in the world, really. I feel so rich, because of that, because so many people have supported me in this journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fantastic. And listen, I think we're all learning in this social media scale that it's not always about having a bunch of followers. It's about being true and committed to your vision, your mission, your brand, and the impact that it makes on others to be able to have the success that you desire for them. And that's how you're going to get that success. We know that was well before social media came about. So
Amen.
I think that there's that crossover of just going back to doing the right thing and being a good person and being present.
Amen.
Yeah.
And I think now even more so than ever, I think it certainly has had its, like everything in life peaks, you know what I'm saying? How you see our industry sort of peak out on that, and then that sort of flatlines for a little while, and then we peak out on something else, and that sort of flatlines for a little while. And, I think now with the influx of Amazon and all that's going on, I mean, we're all scared. I mean, I'm a manufacturer. Heck, I'm scared too. I mean, hairdressers should be scared. We should be scared. Everybody should be thinking about, hey, what's next? I mean, what are they going to take over next? I mean, I'm fighting, pardon me, clawing every day just to be better and I don't rest on my laurels for a minute. I don't sit back and go, oh, wow, Candy, isn't that great? You just won that award. I mean, that kind of stuff just, that just makes me that much more nervous about what I got to do next. You know what I'm saying? There's no end. Every single threshold that I go through is another, oh my gosh, okay, I got there. Now I got to, it's like running this marathon that never ends,
Yeah.
And so, I try just not to get down on it, and I try to just stay focused and just take it one day at a time. And that's really all we can do. But I feel that, with everything changing, the touch feel point is going to be so much more important. And that just drives it all back to education.
It always does. Yeah.
The importance of people having a teacher or a mentor that can go in and actually touch, feel that head with them, talk to them about the things that matter, talk to them about the challenges they're having. I mean, no computer is going to be ever to replace that, that touch point.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, you definitely have some believers out there, Candy. And Steve Vandiver, he says you've done so much and you and yours are very loved.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
You too.
So hands down, you got some believers, and I think that they want to follow you and they want to continue to support you and learn from you. So, we need more mentors and leaders in our industry. And thank you for stepping up and being so fabulous and being that mentor and leader for our industry.
Well, I couldn't do it without great support, and I don't ever think that I went this journey alone. You know, I'm thankful for your friendship, Bonnie, and all those people out there that have supported me along the way. Certainly my own family, my son, my new daughter-in-law, my husband. I mean, without all those people, I'm no one. And then we have now over 120 educators across the world that, you know, support our brand. And, you know, these guys are just my warriors. They're my soldiers. They're out there, the boots in the street. I mean, just today, we had several classes all over the country being taught by these folks that just believe in a greater purpose. And, you know, I don't take that lightly, not for a second. You know, I am so grateful and humbled by the outpouring of love. But I think, you know, in order to have a friend, you got to be a friend. And I've hoped that I've been, you know, a friend to many of these people as well.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you for joining us today. And I did see a comment on there, and it already kind of like, maybe it was from Maria. But Maria, yeah, so we're doing the spotlight every Monday that I am not at a hair show. So
I love
there
that.
are some Mondays, and I think the month of April, there will be no Mondays that we're doing the spotlight, but we're going to be doing the spotlight every Monday here on Hairdressers Advice. And we're introducing more and more talent that's a part of the Beauty Agent Network and a part of our industry that are leaders and mentors like Miss Candy. So thank you. Bali Lama, thank you.
My pleasure. And the next time I see you, it better be with a glass of wine.
It better be with a glass of wine. And let's just
celebrating Christmas.
Let's make it dinner on top of that as well. Yeah,
I love it. Perfect. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you so much for joining us. And hey, you guys, I got some exciting news. I'm launching a book tomorrow. It is, I'm going to have a link to be able to share. It's going to be $1. It's a collaboration book, but it's a 365-day inspirational message. And I collaborated with like 40 different authors to be able to pull this off. But it's a beautiful book called Empowering You and Transforming Lives. So look for that link tomorrow and get your download tomorrow for $1. It'll be great. Yeah. All right, you guys, thanks for joining me at the Spotlight. As always, you can find me at Bonnie Bonadeo and at the Beauty Agent Network. And of course, at Candy Shaw. Is it Bali Lama?
Yes, at the Bali Lama.
Okay, perfect. And then, of course, Sunlights, Balayage. The links are on here. I'll make sure I push a few more links before I shut this down. And then we'll be sharing this video up on YouTube as well. So if you missed it and you can't connect with it, know that it'll be available and Candy will have access to it as well. So thank you again for joining me on this Monday night, and I'll see you guys next week.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy holidays. Bye.
Bye.